Welcome to KC Production, your home for premium African storytelling and entertainment. Before we continue, please like, share, and subscribe to KC Production for more amazing content. Today, we'll be telling the story of Secret Intentions. The city skyline disappeared behind thick grey clouds as rain poured relentlessly onto the streets below. Office workers hurried to their cars with umbrellas, raced against the storm. Inside the luxurious headquarters of Cole Group, however, the atmosphere remained calm. On the top floor, Daniel Cole sat behind his polished mahogany desk, reviewing the final documents for a multi-million-dollar partnership. At 35, Daniel had built one of the city's fastest-growing construction companies. People admired him not only for his business success, but also for his generosity. Employees often described him as the kind of boss who remembered birthdays, helped struggling workers, and never allowed success to change his character. Daniel glanced at the clock on the wall and stretched his shoulders. Another long day, he murmured with a tired smile. Just then, there was a gentle knock on the office door. "Come in," Daniel said. His secretary, Linda, stepped inside. "Sir, there's a gentleman downstairs asking to see you." Daniel frowned slightly. "Did he make an appointment?" "No, sir." "What's his name?" Linda looked down at the visitor's note. "He says his name is Ethan Brooks." Daniel froze. For a brief moment, the room became completely silent, except for the rain striking the glass windows. "Ethan Brooks?" Daniel whispered. Linda nodded. "He insisted that you would remember him." Daniel slowly stood to his feet, hardly believing what he had just heard. Ethan. The name carried him back to memories of dusty football fields, classroom laughter, and childhood dreams. Ethan had been his closest friend throughout secondary school. They had promised never to lose contact. But life had taken them in different directions. 15 years had passed. "I'll see him," Daniel said quickly. Moments later, the elevator doors opened. Standing near the reception desk was a man wearing a worn-out jacket, carrying a faded travel bag. His clothes were neat but old. His beard was slightly overgrown, and there were faint lines of hardship across his face. Their eyes met. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then Ethan smiled. "Daniel!" Daniel's face lit up. "Ethan!" The two men embraced warmly. "I can't believe this," Daniel laughed. "After all these years?" "It's really been a long time," Ethan replied, forcing a smile. Daniel stepped back and studied his old friend. "You've changed." "So have you." Daniel laughed. "I guess life happened." He noticed Ethan's tired appearance. "You look exhausted. Have you eaten?" Ethan hesitated before answering. "Not today." Daniel immediately placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we're leaving right now." "Daniel, you don't have to. I insist," he said. Minutes later, they were seated in an elegant restaurant overlooking the rain-soaked street. Steam rose from freshly served meals. Ethan stared at the food as though he hadn't seen a proper meal in days. Daniel smiled. "Go ahead." Without another word, Ethan began eating. Daniel watched quietly, his heart aching for the friend he once knew. "What happened?" he finally asked. Ethan sighed deeply. "My business fell 3 years ago. I'm sorry. I lost everything." Daniel remained silent. "My wife couldn't handle the struggle. She left." "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I've been moving from city to city, looking for jobs." He looked down. "No one wanted to give me another chance." Daniel's expression softened. "Well, I'm glad you came here." Ethan looked surprised. "You are?" "Of course." Daniel leaned forward. "You were my brother once." For a brief second, guilt flashed across Ethan's face. Then it disappeared. "I don't even know how to thank you." "You don't have to." Daniel smiled warmly. "I have an opening in my company after all." Ethan stared at him. "What?" "I need someone I can trust." "You'd hire me?" Daniel laughed. "Why wouldn't I?" Ethan lowered his eyes, pretending to be overwhelmed. "You don't know what this means to me." Daniel extended his hand. "Welcome to Cole Group." Ethan slowly shook it. "Thank you." But beneath the table, his fingers tightened into a fist. Later that evening, Daniel drove Ethan home. The rain had finally stopped. Street light reflected on the wet roads. Sophia Cole opened the front door with a bright smile. There you are. She kissed Daniel before noticing the stranger standing beside him. Oh, Daniel grinned. Sophia, meet my childhood best friend, Ethan Brooks. Sophia smiled warmly. It's nice to meet you. The pleasure is mine. Daniel explained everything during dinner. Sophia listened carefully. So you don't have anywhere else to stay? She asked Ethan. He shook his head. Daniel answered before Ethan could speak. He'll stay in our guest house until he's back on his feet. Sophia looked at Ethan, then at Daniel. Finally, she smiled. You're welcome here. Ethan nodded gracefully. Thank you. Later that night, everyone had gone to bed. The house was completely quiet. Ethan stood alone in the guest room. He walked slowly towards the window. Across the garden, he could see Daniel and Sophia laughing together in their bedroom. A happy family, a beautiful home, a successful life. Everything he had once dreamed of having. The smile on his face slowly disappeared. His eyes became cold. His jaw tightened. In a low voice that no one else could hear, he whispered, Enjoy it while you can, Daniel. You have no idea why I came back. He reached into his travel bag and removed an old faded photograph. It showed two young boys standing side by side with their fathers. One face had been scratched beyond recognition. Ethan stared at the photograph with burning hatred. This isn't friendship, it's revenge. A week later, at the Cole residence, the Cole Group headquarters, the morning sun broke through the curtains of the guest house as Ethan opened his eyes. For the first time in years, he had slept in a comfortable bed. He looked around neatly furnished rooms before walking to the window. Beyond the garden, Daniel and Sophia were having breakfast on the patio, laughing over a joke while sipping coffee. Daniel noticed him. There he is, he called out. Come and join us. Ethan smiled and walked over. I hope you slept well. Sophia said as she placed another plate on the table. I slept better than I have in years, Ethan replied. Daniel grinned. Good, because today is your first day at Cole Group. The company's employees welcomed Ethan warmly. This is Ethan Brooks, Daniel announced during the morning meeting. We've been friends since childhood. He'll be joining our business development department. The staff applauded politely. After the meeting, Daniel personally showed Ethan around the company. This is the finance department, and over there is the product management. You'll learn quickly. If you have any questions, just ask. Ethan nodded gratefully. You trust me that much? Daniel laughed. I've trusted you since we were teenagers. Ethan forced a smile. If only you knew. What was that? Daniel asked. Oh, I said thank you. Over the next few weeks, Ethan worked hard. He arrived before everyone else, stayed long after office hours. Whenever someone needed help, he volunteered. Employees quickly began praising him. Mr. Brooks is such a hardworking man. He's so humble. No wonder Mr. Cole trusts him this much. Daniel couldn't have been happier. I knew bringing him here was the right decision, he told Sophia one evening. Sophia smiled. He seems like a good man. He is. But as she spoke, she noticed something unusual. Whenever Daniel received praise from clients or celebrated another successful deal, Ethan smiled, yet the smile never reached his eyes. It disappeared almost as quickly as it appeared. She brushed the thoughts aside. Maybe she was just imagining things. A month later, Daniel called Ethan to his office. I have something important for you. Ethan sat down. Daniel slid the folder across the desk. I want you to oversee the West Ridge housing project. Ethan looked surprised. This is one of your biggest contracts. I know. And you're giving it to me? Daniel nodded. I trust your judgment. Ethan slowly picked up the file. Thank you. Inside, however, his thoughts were very different. You're handing me the keys to everything, just as I hoped. That evening, Ethan remained alone in the office after everyone had left. The building was silent. He glanced around before quietly standing. He walked towards Daniel's office. The door wasn't locked. Inside, he carefully searched through drawers until he found confidential company document. He took out his phone. Click, click, click. He photographed every page. Financial reports, upcoming projects, client agreements, private contracts. His expression remained cold. After replacing everything exactly as he had found it, he left unnoticed. Outside the building, a black SUV was parked across the street. Ethan approached cautiously. The driver's window rolled down. A man wearing dark sunglasses spoke. Do you have it? Ethan handed him a flash drive. Everything. The man smirked. Our boss will be pleased. And my payment? You get it when the company starts falling apart. Ethan pocketed an envelope stuffed with cash. This is only the beginning. The SUV disappeared into the night. Back at the Cole residence, Sophia was preparing dinner. Daniel entered the kitchen carrying flowers. These are for you, my darling. She smiled. What did I do to deserve this? You've always deserved them. They laughed. From the hallway, Ethan watched silently. His face remained expressionless. He clenched his fist until his knuckles turned white. Later that night, while everyone slept, Ethan entered the living room. He opened his old travel bag. Inside was a newspaper clipping from years ago. The headline read, Local businessman loses everything after contract dispute. A photograph beneath the headline showed Ethan's late father standing outside a closed factory. Ethan traced the picture with his finger. My father begged for mercy. He lost everything. He died believing the Cole family destroyed our lives. His breathing grew heavier. And now, it's Daniel's turn. He folded the newspaper carefully and returned it to the bag. Then he picked up his phone and made the call. It's me, he whispered. The first phase is complete. A distorted voice answered from the other end. Excellent. When do we begin? Ethan looked towards Daniel's bedroom upstairs, his eyes narrowed. Tomorrow, he ended the call. A storm was coming, and this time it had nothing to do with the weather. 2 weeks later, the atmosphere inside Cole Group had changed. The once lively office was unusually quiet. Employees who normally greeted one another with cheerful smiles down with in groups, exchanging worried glances. Daniel walked through the office, sensing something was wrong. His assistant hurried towards him. Good morning, sir. Morning, Sarah. Why does everyone look so tense? She hesitated. Sir, we've just received another cancellation. Daniel frowned. Another one? Yes. Horizon Estate has withdrawn from the housing project. Daniel said heavily. That's the third client this week. He rubbed his forehead. This has never happened before. Unknown to Daniel, Ethan stood nearby, pretending to read through a file, while secretly listening. When Daniel walked away, a faint smile crossed Ethan's face. Inside the conference room, Daniel met with his management team. Our competitors somehow know every proposal we submit, one manager said. They are underbidding us before we even present our offers, another added. It's almost as if someone has access to our confidential information. Daniel immediately shook his head. There has to be another explanation. I trust everyone in this company. Across the table, Ethan lowered his eyes, hiding satisfaction. Maybe, Ethan said calmly, someone hacked the system. The suggestion tilted everyone's attention. It could be cyber espionage. Another executive agreed. Daniel nodded slowly. Then, strengthen our security immediately. The meeting ended, but the seed of confusion had been planted. That evening, Sophia waited for Daniel at home. He walked in looking exhausted. You look worn out, she said gently. Daniel managed a tired smile. Business has been difficult. She handed him a cup of tea. Do you want to talk about it? Daniel sighed. I don't understand what's happening. Deals are collapsing. Competitors know our strategies, and investors are starting to panic. Sophia listened quietly. Then she asked a simple question. When did all of this begin? Daniel thought for a moment. I'm not sure. Sophia spoke carefully. It feels like everything changed after Ethan joined the company. Daniel looked at her in surprise. Sophia, I'm not accusing him, she said. I'm just saying the timing is a bit strange. Daniel shook his head. Ethan would never betray me. You've known him for years. I've known the boy he used to be. Sophia held his guess. People change. Daniel smiled reassuringly. I appreciate your concern, honey, but Ethan isn't the problem here. From the hallway, Ethan had heard every word. His expression darkened. So, he whispered to himself, he's becoming a problem. The following afternoon, Ethan arranged to meet a mysterious man at a quiet cafe on the edge of the city. The man wore a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He slid a thick envelope across the table. You've done well. Ethan opened it just enough to see bundles of cash. What about the next phase? The man leaned forward. Our employer wants Daniel completely ruined. No business, no reputation, no family. Ethan nodded. It will happen. But the wife, she's observant. The man's expression hardened. If she gets in the way, he didn't finish sentence. He didn't need to. Ethan understood perfectly. Meanwhile, back at the office, Sophia had come to surprise Daniel with lunch. As she approached his office, she noticed Ethan quickly leaving the records room. He looked startled when he saw her. Oh, Sophia. She smiled politely. I was looking for Daniel. Well, he's in a meeting. She glanced towards the records room. Were you looking for something? Just an old project file, he said. He answered a little too quickly. Sophia smiled. I see. As Ethan walked away, she noticed a small flash drive sticking halfway out of his jacket pocket. He quickly pushed it inside before disappearing down the hallway. Sophia frowned. Something wasn't right. Late that night, everyone else had gone to bed, but Sophia couldn't sleep. She quietly walked downstairs for a glass of water. As she passed the guest house window, she noticed a light still on. Curious, she looked through the curtains. Ethan was inside. He wasn't sleeping. He was speaking on the phone. His voice was low, but she managed to catch a few words. No, not yet. He still trusts me completely. Soon, everything will belong to us. Sophia's heart began pounding. She instinctively stepped back. A loose stone beneath her foot shifted with a sharp crunch. Inside the guest house, Ethan stopped talking and slowly turned towards the window. Sophia quickly hid behind a nearby tree, barely daring to breathe. The front door of the guest house opened. Ethan stepped outside, scanning the dark garden. Who's there? He called. No answer. The wind rustled the leaves. After a long moment, Ethan returned inside. Sophia remained hidden until the lights finally went out. She hurried back into the house, her hands trembling. For the first time, she was certain of one thing. Ethan was hiding something dangerous, but she had no proof. And Daniel still trusted him with his life. As she looked towards her sleeping husband, she whispered, I'll find out the truth before it's too late. Outside, unseen in the darkness, a shadow watched the house from across the street. The trap was tightening. 3 days later, the morning sunlight streamed through the glass walls of Coal Grove, but there was little warmth inside the building. Employees moved from office to office with anxious expressions. Phones rang constantly, and every conversation seemed to carry bad news. Daniel stood in the boardroom facing his executive team. I don't understand, he said, frustration evident in his voice. We've lost 4 major contracts in less than a month. The finance director cleared his throat. Our investors are beginning to ask questions, sir. Another executive added, the media has also picked up rumors that Coal Group may be in financial trouble. Daniel took a deep breath. We've survived challenges before, we will survive this one. The team nodded, but the confidence that once filled the room was fading. Across the table, Ethan wore a concerned expression. I'll do everything I can to help, he said. Daniel smiled gratefully. I know you will. Only Ethan knew that every setback had been carefully orchestrated. Later that afternoon, Daniel and Ethan met with an important foreign investor. The meeting seemed to be going well until the investor placed a confidential proposal on the table. Daniel froze. He had seen the document before, not because it belonged to him, but because it was an exact copy of Coal Group's confidential expansion plan. The investor frowned. Mr. Cole, another company submitted this proposal to us yesterday. Daniel's heart sank. That's impossible. They even offered better terms. Daniel apologized repeatedly, but the deal was lost. As they walked back to the car, Daniel's shoulders slumped. I don't know what's happening anymore. Ethan placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. Don't worry, you'll figure it out. Inside, he smiled. One more step. That evening, Ethan made the first move against Daniel's marriage. He walked into Daniel's office carrying a file. Do you have a minute? Of course. Ethan hesitated, pretending to be uncomfortable. I'm not sure if I should say this. Daniel looked up. What is it? I may have misunderstood something. Daniel frowned. Go on. I saw Sophia having lunch yesterday. With who? A man. Daniel laughed softly. That's probably her cousin. I'm sure it is, Ethan replied quickly. It's just what? They seemed very close. Daniel's mouth faded slightly. I'm probably overthinking it. Ethan stood up. Forget I said anything. As he left the office, he knew exactly what he had done. He hadn't accused Sophia, he had simply planted a question. Questions had a way of growing on their own. That same evening, Ethan visited Sophia in the kitchen. Daniel had not yet returned from work. You seem worried, Ethan observed. She smiled politely. Daniel has been under a lot of pressure. Ethan nodded slightly. I've noticed. He paused before speaking again. Can I ask you something? Of course. Has Daniel been distant lately? Sophia looked surprised. A little. Ethan sighed. I shouldn't tell you this. Her curiosity grew. What is it? He spent a lot of time with a new female investor. Sophia laughed nervously. Daniel wouldn't. I'm sure it's nothing, Ethan said. He raised his hands innocently. I just thought you should know. A few minutes later, Daniel arrived home. Sophia greeted him warmly, but her smile wasn't as bright as usual. For the first time in years, a tiny seed of doubt had entered her heart. Days passed. The tension inside the cold home slowly increased. Daniel became consumed with work. Sophia became quieter. Small misunderstandings turned into arguments. You've barely spoken to me all week, Sophia said one evening. I'm trying to save the company, Daniel replied. And I'm trying to save this family. I never said you weren't. Then why does it feel like I'm losing you? Daniel sighed. I don't have the energy for another argument. He walked upstairs. Sophia remained in the living room, fighting back tears. From the hallway, Ethan watched silently. His plan was working better than he had imagined. Later that night, Sophia sat alone on the back patio. Mrs. Grace joined her with 2 cups of tea. You've been crying. Sophia quickly wiped her eyes. No, I'm fine. Mrs. Grace smiled gently. No wife says she's fine when she's crying. Sophia finally spoke. Daniel has changed. Mrs. Grace listened carefully. Or maybe someone wanted to believe he has. Sophia looked up. What do you mean? Mrs. Grace stared down towards the guest house. I've lived long enough to know that not every smiling face carries a kind heart. Sophia followed her gaze. For a brief moment, neither woman spoke. Meanwhile, inside the guest house, Ethan received another phone call. The husband and wife are drifting apart, he reported. The voice on the other end chuckled. Excellent. When they stop trusting each other, the rest becomes easy. Ethan ended the call and walked to the window. Across the garden, he saw Daniel step outside to get some fresh air. Daniel looked exhausted, broken, confused, exactly where Ethan wanted him. But as Ethan watched, he failed to notice something else. From the upstairs balcony of the main house, Sophia was watching him. She couldn't hear his conversation, but she clearly saw him smiling while Daniel suffered. Her suspicion hardened into determination. No, she whispered to herself, this is no coincidence. I'm going to find out who you really are. As thunder rolled across the night sky, Ethan closed the curtains, unaware that someone had just declared a silent war against him. The atmosphere inside the cold residence had become painfully quiet. Breakfast, once filled with laughter, was now interrupted by long silences. Daniel kept checking his phone, answering business calls between bites of food. Sophia barely touched her meal. Mrs. Grace watched them carefully. She knew this wasn't the family she had raised. Daniel finally stood. I have an early board meeting. Sophia forced a smile. Have a good day. He nodded and hurried out. As the front door closed, Ethan walked into the dining room. Morning, everyone. Sophia looked at him. For the first time since he arrived, she didn't smile. Later that morning, Sophia drove to Cold Creek with lunch for Daniel. As she entered the lobby, she saw Ethan leaving the building in a hurry. He glanced around before getting into a black SUV that Sophia had never seen before. Her instinct screamed that something was wrong. Without thinking twice, she had returned to her car. I'm sorry, Daniel, she whispered. This can't wait. Keeping a safe distance, she followed the SUV through the busy streets, across the bridge, and into an old industrial area on the outskirts of the city. The vehicle finally stopped near an abandoned warehouse. Sophia parked several buildings away and watched. Ethan stepped out and disappeared inside. Her heart pounded. She took out her phone and activated the camera. Slowly, she crept closer. Inside the warehouse, voices echoed through the empty building. Sophia hid behind a stack of old wooden crates. She carefully peered around the corner. Ethan wasn't alone. Three men stood with him. One of them spread several documents across the dusty table. Sophia zoomed in with her phone. There were Cole Group's confidential projects planned. One of the men smiled. Once this final contract fails, Cole Group will collapse. Another laughed. Our company will buy everything for half the value. Sophia covered her mouth in shock. So it was true. Someone had been stealing Daniel's business secrets, and that someone was Ethan. Then she heard the words that made her blood run cold. What about Daniel? One man asked. Ethan's expression hardened. When he loses everything, he will be too broken to fight back. The leader shook his head. No, I asked about Daniel. A long silence followed. The man spoke again. Our employer wants him removed permanently. Sophia froze. Removed? Did they mean killed? Ethan hesitated. I agreed to destroy his business, nothing more. The leader stepped closer. You don't get to change the plan now. The warehouse fell silent. Sophia quickly recorded everything. Suddenly, her phone vibrated. She had forgotten to silence it. The ringtone echoed through the warehouse. Everyone turned. Who's there? One of the men shouted. Sophia's heart nearly stopped. She immediately ran. Catch her! Footsteps thundered behind her. She sprinted through the abandoned building, weaving between broken machinery and rusted containers. One man grabbed at her jacket, but she slipped free. She reached her car, jumped inside and sped away just as another vehicle pulled onto the road behind her. A dangerous chase began. Sophia gripped the steering wheel tightly. They can't catch me. They can't. After several tense minutes, she turned into a crowded market street. The traffic slowed everyone down. The black SUV became trapped behind several delivery trucks. Sophia seized the opportunity and escaped. Back at the Cole residence, Sophia rushed inside, breathing heavily. Mrs. Grace met her at the door. Sophia, what happened? Sophia locked the door behind her, her hands shaking. I know everything. She showed Mrs. Grace the video. As to watch, Mrs. Grace's face turned pale. My God. I knew Ethan wasn't who he pretended to be. Sophia looked at her. We have to tell Daniel. Mrs. Grace nodded immediately. All at the same moment, Daniel was finishing an important meeting. His phone rang. It was Ethan. Daniel, Ethan said, sounding concerned. I need you to come to the West Ridge construction site. Why? I've discovered who has been leaking our company information. Daniel stood instantly. I'm on my way. As he grabbed his car keys, he had no idea he was walking straight into another trap. Meanwhile, Sophia tried calling Daniel again and again. No answer. He must be driving, she said anxiously. Then she noticed something horrifying. The memory card containing the warehouse recording was gone. Her face turned white. It must have fallen out during the chase. Without the video, she had no proof. It must have fallen out while she was rushing into the car. Without the video, she had no proof. Mrs. Grace took her hand. We'll still find a way. Sophia stared through the window towards the darkening sky. I just hope we're not already too late. Far away, Ethan watched Daniel's car approaching the deserted construction site. A slow smile spread across his face. The final game, he whispered, has begun. Dark clouds gathered over the unfinished West Ridge construction site as Daniel's SUV rolled through the entrance. The project, once a symbol of Cole Group's growth, now stood eerily quiet. Tower cranes loomed over half-finished buildings, and loose sheets of metal clung to the wing. Daniel stepped out of the vehicle and looked around. Ethan, he called. No answer. His phone buzzed. I'm inside the main building, come alone. Daniel frowned but continued walking. Inside the unfinished structure, his footsteps echoed through the empty halls. Ethan? A familiar voice answered, I'm here. Ethan slowly emerged from the shadows. You came. Daniel smiled with relief. You said you found the person leaking our information. I did. Who was it? Ethan looked directly into Daniel's eyes. You. Daniel blinked. What? You are the reason everything happened. Daniel stared in confusion. I don't understand. Ethan laughed quietly. Of course you don't. Meanwhile, at the Cole residence, Sophia paced the living room. She had called Daniel more than 15 times. Still no answer. Mrs. Grace sat silently lost in thought. Finally, she spoke. I never told Daniel the whole truth. Sophia stopped. What truth? Mrs. Grace took a deep breath. Years ago, Your father-in-law and Ethan's father were business partners. Sophia listened carefully. They built a small construction company together. Things were going well until a large government contract changed everything. What happened? The contract required additional funding. Ethan's father wanted to take a risky loan. Daniel's father refused. Mrs. Gray's voice trembled. They argued. The partnership ended. A few months later, Ethan's father's company collapsed. Sophia frowned. So Daniel's father betrayed him? Mrs. Gray shook her head. No. He tried to help. He even offered Ethan's father another position in the company. What happened? Pride. Mrs. Grace lowered her eyes. Ethan's father refused. He blamed our family for everything. A year later, he took his own life. Sophia covered her mouth in shock. My goodness. Ethan was only 16. Mrs. Grace wiped away a tear. He believed Daniel's father destroyed his family. But that's not the truth. No. It's the story Ethan chose to believe. Back at the construction site, Daniel listened in stunned silence as Ethan revealed his pain. My father died believing your family stole everything from us. Daniel shook his head. Ethan, my father tried to help yours. Liar! Ethan shouted. He begged your father for mercy. I've seen the records. You've seen lies. Daniel stepped closer. My father regretted what happened every single day. Ethan's breathing became heavy. No. You're trying to manipulate me. I'm telling you the truth. For a brief moment, uncertainty appeared on Ethan's face. Then, a loud clap echoed through the building. Both men turned. A slow clap. Another, then another. A well-dressed older man walked out from the shadows. He smiled confidently, touching. Daniel frowned. Who are you? The stranger extended his hand. Victor Kane. Daniel's face changed instantly. Victor Kane. The billionaire businessman who had unsuccessfully tried to buy Coal Group 3 years earlier. You! Victor smiled. Now you remember. Daniel immediately realized Ethan had been used. But before they could react, more armed men surrounded them. Victor revealed that he wanted Daniel gone permanently. Horrified, Ethan objected, insisting he had only agreed to ruin Daniel's reputation, not murder him. Victor made it clear that Ethan no longer had any control over the situation. Far across the city, Sophia raced towards the construction site after realizing Daniel had walked into a trap. At the same time, Mrs. Grace alerted Inspector James, who quickly mobilized the police. Inside the building, Victor ordered Ethan to kill Daniel. As Ethan held the pistol in trembling hands, memories of their childhood flooded back. He remembered the friendship they once shared, the kindness Daniel had showed him, and the brotherhood they had promised would last forever. Daniel looked directly at him, apologizing for the pain caused by the past, and reminding him that he still had a choice. Those words finally broke 3 years of hatred. When Victor decided to shoot Daniel himself, Ethan stepped in between them, knocking the weapon away and turning his gun on Victor instead. He declared that he was finished being manipulated. Furious, Victor ordered his men to attack, and a violent fight erupted throughout the unfinished building. As chaos unfolded, Sophia and the police arrived. Officers surrounded the site, demanding that everyone surrender. While some of Victor's men gave up, others opened fire as they tried to escape. During the confusion, Victor slipped away through a hidden exit, disappearing before police could catch him. Daniel was rescued and reunited with Sophia, grateful that she had refused to give up on him. Ethan chased Victor through the upper levels of the building, desperate to stop him, but Victor escaped into darkness once again. Realizing the damage he had caused, Ethan surrendered peacefully and was arrested. Looking at Daniel with deep regret, he apologized, knowing he had no right to expect forgiveness. Although several criminals had been captured, the mastermind behind everything remained free. 2 days later, life slowly began returning to normal. Coal groups started recovering, stolen company documents were recovered, and investigators uncovered Victor's criminal network. Yet, Victor himself remained missing. Inspector James warned Daniel that men like Victor rarely accepted defeat quietly. For the first time in weeks, the Cole family enjoyed a peaceful dinner together. Laughter returned to the house, and Daniel apologized to Sophia for ignoring her instincts. She reminded him that what mattered most was that they were together again. Unknown to them, Victor watched from outside. Consumed by revenge. If he could not own Daniel's company, he decided he would destroy his family instead. The following morning, Sophia left to visit the children's charity supported by Cole Group. She never noticed the van following her. Moments after arriving, she was kidnapped and taken away. Hours later, Daniel received a chilling phone call. Victor demanded that he come alone to an abandoned dockyard warehouse if he ever wanted to see his wife alive again. Although warned not to involve the police, Daniel secretly contacted Inspector James, who promised to remain hidden until the right moment. Meanwhile, Ethan, still in police custody, learned about Sophia's kidnapping. Burdened by guilt, he agreed to help authorities stop Victor once and for all, determined to make amends for his mistakes. At midnight, Daniel arrived alone at the abandoned warehouse. Inside, he found Sophia tied to a chair, while Victor waited confidently beside her. Victor threw an ownership document onto the floor, demanding that Daniel sign away Cole Group in exchange for Sophia's life. Faced with an impossible choice between saving the company his family had built and protecting the woman he loved, Daniel stood frozen as Victor smiled. Daniel looked at Victor Kane for a brief moment, holding the pen as if to sign the document over to Victor. When Inspector James burst in screaming at Victor to surrender. "It's over, Victor, surrender. Look around. You have been surrounded." "No, it's not over," Victor said. But looking around him, he knew he had been cornered and took a drastic decision as he stood instead of letting the police take him. He shot himself. The shot rang through the building as everyone stood stunned and in shock. Screams filled the room as Victor fell to the ground. And just like that, it was over. Daniel ran to Sophia and removed the gag in her mouth, whispering soothing words to her. "It's all over. It's all over, my dear." In the end, the good triumphed over the bad. As for Ethan, he spent some time in jail, paying for his crimes. Secret Intentions reminds us that jealousy and revenge can destroy lives. But truth, love, and forgiveness have the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to KCA Production for more inspiring movies and stories. See you in our next production.